Hey, it's me. It's animated me. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and it's time for another episode of Completed It. Movie reviews, pop culture, celebrity guests, and all that good stuff. Oh, and my good friend over there, Sacha Lari, that's my co-host. Hey, Sach, hit the titles, brother. Welcome everybody back to completed it. You think I'd know it by now? This is Marvelous Monday. Has it caught on yet, Sash? Has it? Do you like it? Is it good? Marvel? No. Okay. This is Marvelous Monday. You can tell by his laughing. Last week we kicked this the MCU run off with when we sat down and talked all things Iron Man with our good buddy Jonathan Noakes. He is sitting by a swimming pool somewhere right now, as red as a beetroot. So me and Sash are back to talk the second installment that we got in the MCU run, which was Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk movie, which come out in 2008. As you can see, I haven't come alone, and I've mentioned him already. My illustrious co-host is with me, Mr. Sacha Alari. Sash, how are you, brother?
All good, not bad. Same
Good
old.
stuff. Same old with this boy. Sash, we kicked it off last week. Like I say, me and you are going to go each and every Monday. You and I are going to sit down, and we're crazy. We're going to go through the entire MCU universe in theatre in the way they come out in the movies because you won't let me do it the other way, as we got into last week. The second installment, Sash, you don't get it. Let's kick this off, mate. This is really an interesting one. So the Incredible Hulk movie, come out in 2000, the 13th of June, 2008. Previous month before, May 2nd, we had Iron Man. Something you wouldn't necessarily see now as we sit here in 2025, and Marvel's very different now. We mentioned last week when we were talking about Iron Man how seemed a bit more true to the comics and a bit more gritty and not so comedic, which again we can get into in this movie. Just talk about that, Sash. So this come out on the 13th of June, 2008. We had a budget between 137 million and 150 million. Compared to Iron Man now, Iron Man grossed 585 million. This a month later, and obviously once it had come out, etc., grossed 264 million dollars worldwide. And this movie, the Incredible Hulk movie, was really regarded as a flop. Not many people. This movie got shit on. Got to say, Sash, when I rewatched it not long ago, I really enjoyed it. I was like, this is actually, I think this is better now watching it back on the Disney Plus app than when I originally saw it back in 2008 because I was a bit like, I'm not really sure. I'm giving it a solid 7.5, 8 out of 10 now for Edward Norton's Hulk. Do you think we would never get this now? We'd never get a back-to-back Marvel movie, May and June. Why do you think, what would you think the main reason was behind them doing that? Is it because, hey, look, we're on a roll with Iron Man
Well, I
and
don't think they had much of a say in when it came out because Marvel,
Universal and,
Universal
yeah.
were dealing with the distribution. But you also got to take into account it's not just Iron Man. That was a stacked summer. That was one of the busiest summers ever because 2008 you had Spider-Man 3, which
Mhm.
was the biggest grossing Spider-Man film at the time, grossing almost what's it? What was it, 8.5 million? I don't know. You tell me you got box office,
Something like that.
but
You know me and my
something
stats.
like that. And then you got Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. While not the
I
not
took
while
it the
not
movie all the way until the end when the
yeah,
spaceship turns
while
up.
not everyone's favorite Indiana Jones, it is to this date the biggest grossing Indiana Jones at 700 and something million. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So because it's coming off Last Crusade and people generally want to see a fourth one. So everyone went to see that movie. And then of course the elephant in the room is the year of the Dark Knight. You know
Yes.
what I mean? The fact that Iron Man made as much as it did deserves to be celebrated because when you've got all of these other heavy hitters that are also bringing in the bacon, someone had to fall, man. And
Mm.
unfortunately, it was the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I
Unless
mean,
unless you count Speed Racer, because that flopped hard. So
geez, I think that's still flopping in 2025, mate. Um, like I said, when I rewatched it, I don't know why this movie. Why do you think this movie was? And it's still regarded. Again, we're sitting here on a Monday in 2025. Why do you think this film is regarded as a flop? And Edward Norton is regarded as not very. A lot of the reviews you read are like, "Oh, it's so much better now. What they've done with Mark Ruffalo, etc., etc." I get all that, but rewatching it like I did, about a week and a half ago now, me and you were doing this, I'm going through the whole Disney app at the minute. I really enjoyed it, mate. I thought it was a really good standalone movie. And this, for me, this was the Incredible Hulk. He was a badass. He stood there. He had a fight. He didn't crack jokes like we mentioned when we done the Iron Man review, and we like the humor that Marvel get. Now, look, when it's done right, I really enjoy it. For me, though, mate, I don't know what you think. This movie is a standalone movie, and we're going to get to the whole Universal and Marvel thing and why it hasn't been done really since 2008. I really enjoyed this, mate. Why do you think he got shit on so much?
Just, Marvel weren't an established brand like they are now. People couldn't
Mm,
dis you know, um, tell what was an MCU film versus a regular film. You know what I
mm.
mean? A regular Marvel film. This was, like I said, this was the year of Spider-Man 3. Whilst not the best one, Spider-Man was the guy. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone was hyped for that movie. Everyone was hyped for Indiana Jones, which made 700 million. So, and then of course you had The Dark Knight, which was the
One of the
big,
greatest movies of all time.
exactly. So coming off those three big heavy hitters, this one, this one's coming off the Ang Lee Hulk, which wasn't that well received by the mass
But
audience.
made more money.
Um, yeah, it made more money, but
Mm,
nobody knew that it'd be what it was. You know what I
hmm.
mean? So some people are thinking, "Oh, Hulk again, yeah, fuck that," and then you got the other people thinking, "Oh, it's a different guy. Why'd they change it?" Um, but in defense, I think Edward Norton's the best Bruce Banner ever cast because he's the closest to the comics. I actually have, you know what? If you were asking me who I would have cast as Hulk back then and who I'd cast now, seriously, and it's still the same guy, David Duchovny. If you read those 90s comics, David
Mm,
Duchovny was on everyone's list to be the Hulk. Like, literally, like, how it wasn't David Duchovny, I don't know. But,
mm.
I get it. You need a bigger star, and that's what Edward Norton is. He is a big star. And, you know, he's the same ilk of kind of like character, the way he looks, etc. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, yeah,
Closer to the comics.
yeah, close to the comics, skinny guy, nerdy scientist.
Hmm.
Fine, I like Eric Banner, but I thought he was too cool. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I
But the
thought he was too
same the
cool.
same thing that we
Yeah.
were when we got into the Terrence Howard chat last week. Edward Norton, when you're doing again, when we were looking into chatting about this movie, it come down a lot to pay dispute why he didn't come back. It come down a lot to money. It seems that like these movies boom, like we said
Mm.
last week about Terrence Howard wanted RDJ money. Now we're looking at Edward Norton. Everything doing my research for this, and you just could go into Google and say why didn't Edward Norton come back as the Hulk? And everything you read and all the YouTube videos that I watched were money, 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 money. It was Universal then, obviously.
Well, with him, it was more a case of he was difficult to work with
Yeah,
because Edward Norton, like the script, he rewrote the script, didn't get credited for the script, but he
no,
rewrote the entire script. He even tried to edit the movie himself. He like
mm,
literally because he's just one of those it's more a case of he had a vision for what the movie should be. And to be quite honest, like Marvel clearly just, when you listen to Ed Norton defend what he said, it
hmm,
sounds like Marvel knew what they were getting when they hired him because you don't hire Edward Norton if you know he's the kind of guy that's going to rewrite scripts and
hmm,
re-edit stuff because it's not the first time he's done this on his movies and stuff. He did that famously with American History X. And that director has never worked in Hollywood really again because
mm.
the American History X experience was too much for him, kind of thing. Because the movie he wanted to make was not the movie that got made,
Yep, hmm,
but classic movie. Ed, you know, Ed Norton, Ed Norton's a good actor and he's a great Hulk. And I don't know, man. I think, if that's his script, well, good on him because He kept it nice and dark and gritty. He gave some complexity to
Yeah, I
the
mean, it
character.
kind of
And
told an origin
yeah,
story without telling an origin story because it
well,
was kind of
that's
it was more of him on the run,
yeah. But
not trying to be caught by the US government, and he wanted to find a cure. He wanted the Hulk out of him was basically the
that's
presence
the
of this
thing.
movie.
That's the amazing thing. So when they made this movie, funnily enough, um, so it's coming off the Ang Lee film, right? Marvel are trying to get as many projects as they can spinning, right? Because they want to
Hmm.
do this Avengers thing. So the script that they had for this movie, funnily enough, was actually it began as a sequel to the Ang Lee one.
Right.
Actually began as a sequel to Ang Lee one. Marvel's deal with Paramount was, look, we want to make this with you guys, but we want more control over it.
Hmm.
We want to finance it and we want to rebrand it because, the last one you guys said didn't make as much, but only just broke even. We want to rebrand it, hence the recast. You know what I mean? That's why they
Hmm.
recast because they wanted to do it like if it's a brand new thing. However, you know, what the director and what Universal did, they were like, okay, well, it's a reboot kind of. They decided they filmed it in a way where it was like this. So if you listen to the director's commentary of the movie, the director says, that start bit where it looks like you could take that for the origin story if you
Hmm.
want to. However, the way he filmed it was like it could be another one of the billion times he almost got cured or tried to cure himself and it
Yeah.
didn't quite work out because he didn't want to completely retcon the Ang Lee film. Now,
Hmm.
there are links with the Ang Lee one and this one, but look, the most obvious is the fact that at the end of the Ang Lee one, he's in South America,
Hmm.
which is where this one
Where this
starts.
one? Yep.
Which is where this one starts. So, um, what's that? At one point, Kevin Feige was kind of pro it being like a sequel,
Hmm.
but he's kind of gone back on those comments in recent years by saying no. But I'd like to see it as the stepchild of the MCU because the Ang Lee one,
Yep. I'm with
because
you.
like
Good movie.
I liked it.
I liked it.
I liked it.
Yeah.
But I get it. It's not. It's like they ran out of budget. They got to San Francisco. The budget ran out.
We've done all our money.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
are.
Let's get to something then that is obviously still a talking point today, Sash. Obviously, with Universal and Marvel, the big thing about this, and my good friend Ed, who I know watches these, big shout out to Ed. I mean, this was his favorite Hulk. He said this was the Hulk, and he said Marvel ruined it after this movie. We're going to get into that later. As we mentioned last week when we are doing Iron Man, what they've done to the comedic side. I prefer Hulk to be comic book Hulk, where he's just beating the living shit out of everyone that he comes into connection with. The whole Universal thing, we're going back to obviously 2008, Sash. Everyone's saying, why hasn't there quote unquote been another standalone Hulk movie? For a long time, that was because Universal were like, look, you can do what you want with him, but you can't do a standalone movie. And in a lot of things that Marvel have done, a part of the contract was like if you hadn't made a movie in 5 years, then that part of the deal was done. They didn't have that with the Hulk franchise, and I believe they still haven't quite got it. You'll be able to tell
Well,
me more, but
it's an older
why do you think there's
contract.
never been a
It's an older contract for
yeah,
starters. So, for example, can you remember back in the day when we had Smallville? And everyone would be
mm,
like, why isn't Batman on TV? When's Bruce
yeah,
Wayne rolling up in Smallville? Everyone would ask that. Well, there's a reason. 60s Batman, the Adam West one was made by 20th Century Fox. Those old rights were usually, you know,
mhm,
long-standing
yeah,
contracts kind of thing. Nowadays, obviously, big corporations know there's a lot of money to be made, and
mm,
if you have a long-standing contract, you know what I mean. It doesn't really work out. So, with something like the Hulk, which they signed in the '70s or the '80s or whenever that show was, you know what I mean.
late 70s, early
Yeah, yeah,
80s.
like no one
Mm,
thought comic book movies would make money. You know what I mean?
mm.
So they didn't give a fuck. And then they were like, yeah, we own it, but we're not doing anything with it. You know what I mean? But now, Universal, why
Does it
hasn't there
still
been?
amaze you now? While we still haven't had one in like you say, we're sitting here in
Well,
2025, and we haven't really had obviously the Hulk's in the
yeah,
Avengers and he's been in Thor and etc. 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 But we haven't had a standalone Mark Ruffalo
but
Hulk movie.
Universal, they still see it as a risk. They still see it as a risk, even though after all this time. quite clearly they see it as a risk. And
Why do you think that is?
also, if they are gonna spend a little bit of bank on the marketing, etc., they'd much rather do it on a Fast and Furious, which is
Why?
ridiculous. But
Why?
hey, it makes some money.
There's
Those
a
are people
car
going to
jumping out of
movies.
a plane
Yeah,
that's near space. Oh, great.
yeah.
Okay,
But
no.
that's their
Give
bread and
me a
butter.
Hulk. Give me a
That's-
fucking Hulk movie, man.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
even Jurassic Park, bread and butter.
yeah.
That's why they keep making them. Um,
Do you think we'll ever get
oh,
another standalone Hulk movie?
maybe. I think they should give it
They've
another
done She.
try.
Well, I mean, they've done this. Obviously, we had the She-Hulk spin-off on the Disney Plus app, which, all intents and
Yeah, that
purposes, quote unquote, tanked. But it was okay for what it was. I didn't personally like it. It maybe one day me and you will sit down and chat about it on here on the channel. But
mate, it was shit house.
okay, I didn't really want to. But yeah, it was really
I
bad.
saw what they were going to do. Let me be fair. All right. So,
Mm.
obviously that stuff happens in the comics where it's She-Hulk lore and stuff. But I mean,
But I think that with the
if you're
with this
gonna
Hulk,
do an Ally McBeal type show, but no, hear me out. If you're gonna do an Ally McBeal type show, then get actual comedy writers that can write actual comedy
yeah,
and make it an Ally McBeal type show, but with superhero shit. Instead,
yeah.
they just kind of decided, hey, let's just shit on every male character. Let's make, you know what I mean? They just
Mm.
totally
But I
hijacked.
think the Incredible Hulk character
Yeah,
would be good as you know how they've done like Loki, the spin-off series. I think the Hulk as a character
as a
would be a
TV show.
great. Oh man, I think it'd be incredible.
We almost got that.
Think of
We
the
almost got
original
that.
Batman. Think of the Adam West
Yeah,
Batman and how well that went down, and that really started it. And then obviously they Adam West made a movie, etc. And then they were off to
yeah.
the races. I think now, if you said to Mark Ruffalo, would you do even if you've done a mini series just to test the
Yeah.
waters, six episodes, 45 minutes long, Disney Plus it. I think you could link that in somewhere along the timeline, and I think it would work.
Well, you could have it set after this one and have him move from place to place, and
You
then
could
he
see
goes
what
to
happened to him
India,
after, yeah,
and then season one is how he gets to India.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
smashing shit
And
up
then
all the way.
obviously Avengers, and then
Yeah,
it's
but you
how
could
we
do.
get
You
to
could link it into how he
yeah,
ends up getting back to the Avengers movie. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I think it's such a shame how the franchise of the Incredible Hulk. I don't know if it's kind of looked down upon in the MCU. Is that right to say? Would you
I
reckon?
don't think it is. I think there's a lot of Hulk
But he's a
fans.
badass, mate. They turned him into a
Yeah, there's a
comedic
lot of Hulk
character.
fans, especially now. I think the movies have really cemented him as like
Yeah, but they
a
turned
key
him into
Avenger.
fucking.
It's
They
just
turned
this.
him into a stand-up comic.
See, I don't mind that. I
Oh,
don't mind
dude,
that.
nah, he's a wrecking machine. He should just
He
batter
is a
the.
wrecking machine, but I'll always argue this because there is comedy from that wrecking machine, and they did it well in Ragnarok. I'm glad that
Ragnarok was
my
terrible.
problem with Hulk currently is that you need him to go back to the rawness.
Being a
It's all right
badass.
to have comedy, but he has to
Mhm.
go back to destroying shit.
The
I mean,
fundamentals of it, yeah, he should be
yeah,
fucking throwing shit around.
like the only thing I'd say about Endgame, which I didn't like, is that Hulk didn't redeem himself.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you wanted that redemption where, like, the bit before, like Captain Marvel comes down, etc. I think Hulk should have got involved there
yeah,
before Iron Man did his thing.
mm,
Because then it would have been like, oh, Hulk's back. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Hulk's back, blah blah, and that would
And
have,
when they made him really in
yeah.
Infinity Wars, when they made him really timid, and I don't want to come out. I don't. They're like,
I get
"Off,
that
you're the
though,
Hulk,
because
man."
the thing is with Hulk, and I don't know whether this is explained too well, but Hulk is like a baby.
Mm.
Like legitimately, like that's why
Yeah,
he is the way he is in Ragnarok, because he's been like that for like 2 years. He's developed a personality, you know what I mean, a bit of a personality,
hmm,
and that's where the comedy is. But then, like a kid, he's a tough guy, right? No
hmm.
one can defeat him, and he's like, yeah, whatever. Then along comes Thanos, and it's like, shut up. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
know.
So he's scared. You know what I mean? He's scared. So what we needed was a character arc for him to redeem himself
Hmm.
to get back to the guy that, do you know what I mean? I think if that had happened, people wouldn't have a problem. But instead we got She-Hulk instead, and we haven't seen the guy. We haven't seen the guy in any of these new movies. And like, how much better with half of these new MCU films would have been if Hulk was there? You know what I mean?
what did you make of, and do we ever get to a point now? Obviously, we're talking the Hulk that come out in 2008, but while we're talking Hulk and the whole Hulk franchise, Captain America: Brave New World, the Red Hulk.
Yeah.
Do we ever get anything with Red Hulk and the Hulk?
Oh, you know what? I really want that, but it needs to be a Hulk movie, not a. Do you know what I
Them
mean?
throwing them in a movie
Yeah.
because now we know they exist.
Yeah.
They're in the universe, and
Yeah.
it's the Marvel universe. So anything, the multiverse and God, we could whoever knows. We might even see Edward Norton one day. Who knows? In the multiverse, in
I
the
don't think
multiverse
that's
world,
happening.
it happened
I
in
think
Spider.
that
Yeah,
shit
that
has
shit's probably
sailed,
sell.
man.
But thinking how multiverse
Yeah.
works now, and DC have tried it in the Flash movie. It was fucking awful, but they tried it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Red Hulk, Green Hulk. Would that be? Is that the catalyst for them to say, let's make a fucking movie?
I don't think that. I don't think it's on the cards, man.
Don't think it'll ever happen.
It is. I think there's a lot of rumors that there might be one, but I
Because now
don't
you've
know,
done
man.
it. Now you've introduced Harrison Ford and Red Hulk,
Yeah.
and you've got Mark Ruffalo. Oh, do they team up? Do they hate each other? There's so many things you could do now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
There
just,
is.
I just think it's
Well,
something that could happen.
yeah. But I've just seen they're just going to put him in an Avengers movie. I don't see him doing a snap
Do you
unless
think we see both Hulks in the Doomsday?
I think you'll see one of the Hulks in Doomsday.
Not both.
I don't think
Brethren.
we get both, but I think you know what? The thing is with the Universal thing, I think I think it's the I don't know. Someone more smarter than me, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the same group of executives that were there back in 2008
I
that
think
haven't
from what I
figured it
was
out?
reading into this
Yeah,
when I was doing my research for this episode, the deal still stands
yeah,
to this very
yeah,
day.
yeah,
And there was something I should have wrote it down when I was researching it. There was something in other movies that if say if you didn't make an Iron Man movie for 6 years,
yeah,
that part of the deal, quote unquote, expires, and Sacha PLC can go and buy the rights if you wanted to. With this stuff that Universal have got with the Hulk, no one can touch it. They
yeah,
can't physically put him in a standalone movie without Thor, without
yeah.
Spider-Man, without the event. They physically can't say, right, we're doing a Hulk.
Well, they'd have to wait 100 years, isn't
Yeah.
it, or something?
There's
So yeah,
something in this deal that they haven't got that part in. If that nowadays, if you didn't make a
well, it's the
certain movie for
same.
4 or 5 years, you could go and someone else, me and you could
Yeah,
go right. We're making a Hulk movie. That doesn't happen, and that with this deal with Universal, now
yeah,
we could approach Universal tomorrow and they'd be like, nope, not.
yeah,
But you think that the money that they would
yeah,
make nowadays, Sash,
yeah. It's
bro,
true.
we're talking some serious buck here. You'd think they'd just
The
go,
only
yeah.
thing
But do you
we
think
didn't know,
nowadays Marvel's got such
yeah,
a name now? Do you not think Universal would go, here you go, take it, make us a badass movie?
they would have done it by now.
But what I don't
I
get
do
why
think there's
it's
a
just
part of
common sense.
there's a part of Marvel that think they tried because the thing is they went in with their big guns with this movie.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And they failed.
Yeah.
So they maybe it's Marvel themselves
But
thinking,
then
well,
again,
we
they did
tried
release
it.
it, like you said, it come out
Yeah,
Dark Knight. It
yeah,
was a month
exactly.
after Iron Man. Do you think if they had left it like they do now, a year, 2 years, this movie would have done better?
I do think so. I do think so. I think they should maybe not even 2 years. I think the same year, but 6 months later for
Yeah, because
Christmas.
it was literally the next month
Yeah,
this movie come
yeah,
out. So
that
they're
was
obviously
the
getting the good thing about this movie though, Sash. We
yeah,
mentioned it briefly when we done our Iron Man one last Monday. When you get to the end of Iron Man 2, which evidently me and you are doing next Monday, the end of Iron Man 2, you see the Hulk battle going on at the university. It's on the
yeah,
news. Was this the part of Marvel going, right, now? Because obviously they had mentioned the
yeah,
Avengers there. Was this them thinking this is when we're really going to start knitting things together? Because me and you mentioned all the time when we record, you've got to have watched that to have known that, then
yeah.
you've got to have read that. Was
Oh
this
yeah,
Marvel was this Marvel back then in 2008 going, especially with Iron Man 2. And
yeah.
if you weren't eagle-eyed, you might not have noticed it. But when you're
Well, yeah.
watching
I
Iron Man
mean,
2 and
well,
you're like, fuck,
they
there's the Hulk battle going on.
yeah. I mean, Feige said a billion times that once they did Iron Man, they were. grafting towards Avengers. So
Avengers, yeah.
yeah, it was totally in the plan. I mean, when Feige was just a producer for Marvel before they started making their own films, he was trying to connect the older films together. He wanted Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in X-Men and stuff
Mm,
like that. None of these things came to fruition at all. You know what I mean?
mm,
But when he started actually producing his own movies, he made it happen. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Mm,
So there's a testament to his foresight and his planning, because things are there for a reason. Um, so yeah,
Well, just finishing up with the Hulk franchise as a whole, why do you think they went away from him being a badass kid? Because when you read the comics, he's
yeah.
a wrecking machine. When you watch this 2008 movie that we're talking about now,
Well,
the actual
there's all
scenes in it when he's
different.
fighting, what's his name,
Yeah,
the guy that gets to inject, quote unquote, another
yeah.
Hulk, but he's not. You know what I mean? That's an absolute. When you rewatch that scene, like the graphics aren't what they are now, but I think it's better. It looks more. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
it looks more real. It's a Marvel movie, so it's never gonna be real. But I don't know. I don't know why. You kind of explained it already, but why they went away from him being true to the comics.
Well, what makes you say he's not true to the comic? Because there are
He's
comics where he has different. Because that's why you have stuff like Grey Hulk, Smart Hulk,
Yeah, but they're
Blue
not
Hulk,
the
Red Hulk.
comedic. I just think he should be a
These
kid.
are these are the comics, dude,
And I
and they're
think in
still
Infinity
doing that.
Wars, when I just think in Infinity Wars as well, when he's like, I'm scared, I don't want to
Yeah,
come
but
out.
that happens. That happens in the comics. So, like, what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think if you've got this wrecking machine, make him a fucking wrecking machine.
But like I said, he'll come back there. He'll be back. He'll be
Mm,
back. He's not
I
going
hope
to be
so,
like
mate.
that forever.
No, I hope so. I do hope we get to the point where
Yeah,
we get another standalone Hulk movie. And now
yeah,
that, like I said to you, now they've introduced Harrison Ford and the Red Hulk. The
yeah.
potential. Why would they do that? I know it was obviously in Brave New World and it was effectively a Captain America movie, but that was kind of like Thor Ragnarok, where the Hulk was
Yeah.
the side piece, and then in this one, Harrison Ford wasn't. I wouldn't say he was the side piece, but they've given us something now, and they've kind of like sprinkled the magic marble dust, and now we're all thinking, well, surely that for me that can't be the last time we see Harrison Ford as the Hulk. Otherwise, why do it?
I think he'll return. He'll return.
Mm,
I'm surprised he didn't show up in Thunderbolts, to be honest.
fucking
But
hell, I wish he
yeah,
did. We've all seen our review on that. We agreed to disagree on Thunderbolts. I thought it was fucking awful. But anyway, yeah, no, mate. Honestly, I really, again, rewatching this 2008 Hulk movie. Honestly, I don't know what you'd give it now. I gave it a solid
did you see
seven,
the
8 out
guy
of
that?
10.
Did you see? On this review or on this rewatch? Did you see the guy from Spider-Man: Homecoming? The guy
I
that plays
did.
Major? Yeah.
Yes, I did, and it was if you go on IMDb, that's in the facts trivia as well.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah,
Yeah, and that's obviously when I originally knew about the whole Iron Man 2 thing. But yeah, there's so many things that this is what when you rewatch, especially the Marvel universe. I think I'm more looking out for the Easter eggs and the little snippets that are hidden behind what I should be looking at, thinking,
yeah,
oh yeah, that happens now, and oh that will be in Iron Man 3, or that'll be in Thor, or that'll be in Spider. There's so many things that Shield, like we mentioned last week, they mentioned Shield in the original Iron Man movie, and it went on to be probably the running theme for all the movies. I know you didn't watch the TV show, but even some parts of the Shield TV show, I can't remember what season it is
Hmm.
running alongside the Battle of New York in the Avengers movie.
I remember seeing the Thor one where it
Yeah,
had Lady Sif. Yeah,
yeah. So that and again, that's where Marvel were. I wouldn't say they've tailed off from that now. That's where they were so clever when they done that. When you're watching an episode of The Shield and you're like, oh, it's running along the same timeline as the Battle of New York, or when you're watching Iron Man 2 and it's running along the Hulk movie because it's on the news, and you're like, that's where for me Marvel were really weird. Not saying they're not now. I just think now me and you have said a couple of weeks ago. I think they're taking a little dip till 2026. It hasn't been like oh fuck me, this is terrible dip. I just think slowly we could get back to like we've spoken
I
about
think
Iron
they're
Man.
getting there already. I mean, look, the past, well, Thunderbolts and this one, they haven't been like the gold standard,
Hmm.
but they haven't been dog shit. They
No,
haven't. Like dog shit was
they haven't
where we
been
were
Miss
at.
Marvels. They haven't been Miss Marvels.
Yeah, yeah. The Marvels,
That was it. Marvel.
Secret
That was awful.
Invasion,
Oh God, no. Oh Jesus.
that was dog shit.
We're gonna have to
They're
get to
not a
them
dog
eventually.
because here's the thing. Daredevil was okay.
Fine.
It wasn't better than the Netflix show. but it was a step in the right direction, and I'm hyped for season two. I am
Hmm.
actually hyped in the direction they're going.
Hmm.
Even though you didn't like the
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts, I was pleasantly surprised myself.
Okay.
Well, I genuinely like. If you asked me, did I think that was going to be a good film?
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
went in
remember you
with the
saying.
lowest of expectations. I was slagging the shit out of that movie. So, you know what I mean?
Maybe I'll
So
go and
I,
rewatch it. I might go back and watch it.
but and Captain America, yes, it's objectively bad, but I've seen worse movies.
Oh,
You know,
100%
I've
I've
seen
seen.
hundreds of worse movies. So, you know what I mean?
But
Like,
that's where
I'm
movies are great
afraid,
because I thought I would rather watch Brave New World than Thor Ragnarok.
wow, wow.
I thought
That's a
Ragnarok was
that's a
I thought
that's another podcast. But
I thought Ragnarok was terrible. I thought it was awful. That and
yeah,
Love and Thunder and
I'll
fucking
give
that.
you Love and Thunder. I'll give you Love and Thunder. That was terrible, but
Yeah.
I did enjoy Ragnarok.
Okay. I'm looking forward
But
to
we'll
that.
we'll
So that's
talk,
probably a
we'll
few
talk
weeks.
more about that.
Yeah, that's a few weeks
Yeah,
down the line. That's a few weeks
that
down the
is.
line. But dude, it's been good talking. We've gone back now to so we've done Iron Man, we've done the Hulk. Next Monday we are doing Iron Man 2. One of my favorite, honestly. I mean, then we're gonna get to Iron Man
Speaking of
3. And
Easter eggs, did you catch the Easter egg from the Ultimate Hulk Ultimate Destruction, the video game?
no, little birdie tells me someone worked on these video games. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
It might be new.
Ultimate Destruction on PS1, basically he has this move where he rips a car in two and uses them for boxing gloves.
Hmm.
And that was the
In the
nod. And
movie.
he did
Yeah.
that when he did that in the movie.
You were like, shit.
No, no, the whole crowd went nuts. The people that played games,
Yeah, the
I saw it
gaming
with a whole
community.
load. I actually saw it with a whole load of gamers. So I actually used to work for Sega, and I worked on Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk games back in the day. And
That's a
when
podcast we're going
the
to get to because I am, apart from obviously you've worked on these, I don't think they've missed an absolute trick with the Marvel Universe by not making one good computer game so far.
by what?
By not making one good computer game so far with this universe.
Oh, they have. Have you
Have
played Guardians?
was that
Have you
good?
played Guardians?
Yeah, it wasn't that good, mate.
What is wrong with what about Spider-Man?
But yeah, I haven't got to play it. I'm Xbox.
All right, well, that's why. That's why.
Oh,
Guardians of the Galaxy was surprisingly good.
okay.
Have you played it?
I've friends have and they poo-pooed it a little bit.
You need to get new friends. Seriously. You need to
You're
try
one
it
of
for
them.
yourself. You need to try it for yourself. It's a good game. It's a good
Okay.
game. Guardians of the Galaxy, the game.
Okay. Is it on
That was good.
Xbox?
Avengers was pony though.
That's
That,
the yeah. I mean, that's
yeah, that
probably
was
more that I meant. I mean, when that Avengers game come out, that could have been. You think of the
yeah,
whole universe and what they could do with it. The fucking game tanked, and I was
yeah,
hyped for that game.
it's
Especially the on.
that's
Think,
why
think about what you can do with the Marvel universe online now. Look at the Fortnite community, and I mean, I play a lot of Fortnite, but you look at that community and you look what
yeah.
it's done for gaming.
The
Imagine
pro
if
the
you take
problem
that to the Marvel
well, that's
universe.
a separate I could go into this conversation,
We'll
dude.
do it another day.
It's a
We will
whole other
do, yeah,
podcast.
we will do that at another time. But everyone, I really do appreciate you tuning in as always. A big shout out again to our sponsor, scmtherapy.com. They do great work over there. Anyone suffering with anxiety, depression, etc., etc., go check them out. They really are good people over there. Go and check them out over at scmtherapy.com. Sash, you and I will be having a marvelous Monday. It's going to catch on. I'm going to get a t-shirt. Next Monday, we're talking about Iron Man 2, my friend. Looking forward to that one. One of my, I know John doesn't like Iron Man 3, but I thought Iron Man 2 and 3 were really good movies. I,
I
I like,
like it.
I
I
liked them,
like
mate.
it.
I liked them.
I understand why people don't like free, but we'll talk about that on
Yeah, we'll get to that in a few weeks.
get to
Anyone
it.
that wants to check out this show, just go onto YouTube, type in Completed It Podcast. The Completed It logo will come up. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. Anyone wanting to listen to the audio version, Spotify, Apple is where you can find us, minus the intro, because I haven't quite figured out how to get that all in there. I don't know. But yeah, the audio version is up. A really big appreciate to everyone that checks us out on a weekly basis. We're loving what we're doing. But this has been another marvelous Monday. We've completed it. Till next time, everybody, stay safe.
Feeling overwhelmed by the challenges of daily life? Struggling with anxiety, stress, depression, phobias, fears, or just trying to get yourself back again? Discover the transformative power of focused solution hypnotherapy and counseling. Through guided hypnotherapy, relaxation trance allows your subconscious mind to access your inner resources and strengths you didn't know you had. Book your free consultation today and let's start your journey together. For more information, please email Sharon at scm-therapy.me